Welcome, Colleen Quigley, to Hustlers at Home. I am so honored to have your badass self on the show. So, for those who are watching and you're not familiar yet with Colleen, she is an incredibly accomplished runner and Olympian. She is a mentor to young athletes, especially young female athletes. And she is also the winner of Peloton's All-Star Ride. So that means y'all probably saw her competing on ESPN, slaying the game. I mean, you got number one in the women's heat, but you like slayed the men too.
This is my biggest accomplishment to date on the resume.
Oh my gosh. So welcome, Colleen. So tell folks who might not be familiar with kind of your Olympic achievements and steeplechase, what that is and what it's all about.
Absolutely. Yeah. The steeplechase is one of those things where you see it every 4 years in the Olympics, and then, you don't really see it on a normal basis. So basically, the premise of my event is that it's 3,000 meters, which is just under 2 miles on the track, 7.5 laps on like an outdoor 400-meter track. But to mix things up, every lap you have 4 big wooden barriers. So they're not like sprint hurdles where they're like metal ones that you hit it and it flops over, and these are stationary like horse hurdling barriers. And so you have 4 of those around the track, and then you have one of them that is placed in front of a pit of water on the corner.
So insane.
And you run up to the hurdle and you jump on it and you leap over the pit of water and you carry on, and you do that for 7.5 laps. So altogether you have 28 regular hurdles and then 7 of the water pit ones throughout the whole race. So
how did that event choose you, or I know that you ran cross country in high school and your dad was your coach. I want to get into that. But steeplechase, I mean, it's a very unique skill set. It's a unique event. How do you even say that's my thing?
Well, the first thing that kind of, I guess, got me into is that my brother ran in college. He went to Mizzou, University of Missouri, and he ran the steeplechase. And so that was my first, like, what the heck is this craziness, was watching him do it. But I still never thought about myself doing it. It wasn't until I was a senior in high school, and there was a coach at Florida State whose name is Karen Harvey, and she recruited me to go to Florida State. It was where I ended up going. And the first time that she saw me run, it was in cross country. I'd never hurdled in my life, but she just saw me running, and she was like, you have like an athletic build. You're not like a little stick twig, you look like sturdy, you look strong. And she was like, and you're pretty tall. So she was like, I think you'd be a good steeplechaser. I want you to come to Florida State. I'll give you a full ride, and I want you to run the steeplechase. And I was like,
Was it a gut yes decision, or was it one of those you got to write in your journal for a bit? Think about it.
It was hard, but it wasn't hard. She was super inspiring just as a person. And so I was just really drawn to her and her enthusiasm and her passion. And a lot of people would say, Karen Harvey is so intense. Like she's intense. And they would say it as a bad thing. And I would say, hell yeah, she's intense. And I would say it as like and so am I, like, let's go.
Yes, I love it. So that's amazing. So what do you think is the most important thing that you learned from her in your work with Karen as a coach?
Yeah, she was an amazing coach. She coached me for 4 years. I think the best thing that I learned from her is like this all in, 0 to 100, like if you're going to do it all the way type of mentality. She was never going to half-ass anything as a coach or as an athlete herself. If she was doing something, she was all the way 100% in, heart and soul, like dedicated to it. And she was like that as a friend and, as a person too, like in her personal life as well. And I think I'm naturally kind of a bit like that, but she definitely brought that out even more in me and helped me just to say, you know what, if you're going to do it, just do it all the way and give it your heart and soul and see what happens. And if it doesn't work out, then at least you'll know that there was nothing you could have possibly done to make it work out. It just wasn't going to happen.
I love iron sharpens iron, right? And I think that when you see, I joke that like when queens recognize each other in the wild, it's like, oh yeah, I see you. I think we've had those moments together on the bike, and I know I've had them with folks, and you're just like, Yeah, that's it. She's got it.
I love
So,
it. In the wild.
yeah, in the wild, we're just trying to, navigate the kingdom, build the empire. So your dad was your cross country coach in high school. What was that like, needing to train and have your dad be your coach?
Yeah, it was really interesting. I feel like I wasn't all that close with my dad. Like I was, but I just didn't spend as much time with him until I got to high school. And then he would come, he still teaches actually high school math at an all boys school. And I was going to high school at an all girls school. And so he would teach all day and then he would come over to my school in the afternoon and we'd have practice and he would run practice and coach me and everything. And then he would drive me home after and we would talk about running all the way home and we'd have like our, after practice snack together.
Oh, what was the snack? What was the snack? I always need to know about the food.
My dad and I are big pretzel people. We freaking love pretzels. So it's usually pretzel and like an apple or a piece of fruit. Pretzels and like an orange or an apple or something. And then we go home and have dinner. And my dad actually did a lot of the cooking. My mom was working in the afternoons. Both my parents are definitely hustlers. And my mom was working in the afternoon evenings a few days a week. So then he would help cook dinner and stuff. And so just like definitely a big part of my life in high school. I would say my mom was my more like favorited parent and one I spent more time with when I was younger. And then by the time I got to high school, I think I spent more time with my dad and we got closer. So that was nice to be able to have like good time with both of them. And they're still together and they're still like doing their happy, almost retired life thing back in St. Louis.
Oh, mom and dad. That must be so beautiful for them to see your successes. So especially, I mean, I'm sure, especially for your dad who had such an integral part in your cross country in high school. When you graduated from FSU, you only had a year to prepare for the Olympics. How was that? That is so wild. What was your training like? What was your headspace like? I can't even fathom that road.
Yeah, that was probably the craziest year ever of my life. I think when I graduated, that first summer, I made my first USA team. I qualified for World Champs and it was in Beijing, China. So I went to NCAAs and I won NCAAs and I went to USA's 2 weeks later, got third, made the US team. And I was like, yes. And then I realized I still have to train for like 6 or 8 more weeks until Worlds. And I was like exhausted. But I went to Worlds and I placed, I think I was 12th at Worlds that year in 2015. And I thought, I'm going to go to the Olympics next year. I've already made the team once. I can do it again. But then I started getting injured like crazy. I joined a new pro team, a new coach. I moved out to Portland, Oregon, where I live now. With an amazing group called the Bowerman Track Club and a few amazing coaches, Pascal Daubert and Jerry Schumacher. And they're great, but it was just a big transition for me and my body was not having it. And so I just kept getting injured and kept getting all these setbacks. And I wasn't running for months and months at a time. And so I just saw that Olympic dream just kind of fade away. Like I was like, it felt at first like it was so in front of me and easy to grasp. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh no, like it's slipping away. And it really wasn't until like 2.5 months before the trials. Because you only get one race. You get one chance, one shot. And if you don't do it, it's 4 years until you get to try again.
Unbelievable.
So I knew that date in my head, had it on my planner. And I finally got healthy like a couple months before the trials and got some like decent training in. And then by the time I got to the start line, I was just kind of like, well, like this isn't what I thought it was going to be, but I've done what I was able to do. And I'm just going to give it my best shot. Like on the day, this is what I have. These are the tools I have. I'm going to use them to the best of my ability and see what happens. And it ended up just working out. Like I just toughed it out. I made the move when it was kind of a gut check moment. Like, do you want it or not? And I was like, F it, I want it. And I went for it. And ended up third and I made my first Olympic team. So it was definitely not like the year that I thought it was going to be, but I changed a lot as a person. And I think it ended up being the year that I needed it to be. And actually, as those words came out of my head, it definitely sounds like 2020, not the year that I thought it was going to be, but I think the year that we all needed it to be. And it ended up working out, the way it was always supposed to.
What would you say to someone who is dealing with those setbacks, especially injuries? Because injuries as an athlete, even in a recreational weekend warrior, are just so mentally debilitating. So what's like two pieces of advice you'd give to someone dealing with that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's the physical side of it, of just like your body's not doing what you want it to do, and you're trying to go to rehab, and you're seeing doctors and your therapists, and you're trying to see what you can do physically to get your body functioning the way it needs to again. So that's definitely one part of it. And so for that part, you have to be super diligent on PT exercises, like doing your rehab stuff like a boss, like every day, like it's
Mm,
your job. For me, it was my job, but it's not the same for everyone. But yeah, you definitely have to be on top of taking care of your body, and not just like, you can just kind of sit on the couch and feel sorry for yourself, or you can do the exercises, you can do the rehab and the cross training.
hmm
Bike and the pool have both been huge tools for me when I'm injured, to say, okay, I can't run, I can't do an impact activity, but I need to sweat, I need to work hard, I need to work my heart and my
Yeah.
lungs, and I need to, use my muscles. And how can I do that without like the pounding of running? And so swimming and biking have been huge for me. So the physical side is definitely the one component, but the obvious other huge component is, what do you do when something that you identify with as an integral part of who you are is taken away? And what does that do to your mind? And that is sometimes, I think, the even bigger struggle than the body part, is how to mentally grasp, I am not where I need to be, and I'm going to get back there, and like, how do I do that, and how do I grapple with all of that? And so for me, there's a few tools, but meditation is a big one the last couple of years that I've picked up, a tool that I've put in my tool belt. And now I also work with a mental coach. That's something I never did before I turned pro. So definitely things that I've used to up my game, both when I'm healthy, definitely still important, but even more so when things aren't going right, and you're struggling with something, then you need those tools more than ever.
What's one thing you could share that you learned from the mental coach? I am fascinated by the mental gymnastics that we can put ourselves through. I think our minds are our biggest training tool.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you're a really good advocate of mental health, and I know obviously a huge advocate of physical health and what you do in your job and with Peloton, but you talk all the time about mental health and how to boss up and, be a queen and act like a queen. And that's super important. All those messages about like, hey, I deal with this too. I don't always feel like a queen, even though it might seem like I got it going on all the time and like I'm amazing. Like, there are times when I don't feel like that, and it's hard, and I'm human, and here's what I
Mm.
do to help me. Here's tips that I use to like help me feel better. I think we need more of that, like more people being real about, even though it might seem great from social media, like I have struggles too. And I try and be open about that. Like, whenever I'm injured, I always am posting about, hey, I'm injured right now, I'm in the pool, it's shitty, what's up, like here's what I'm dealing with, instead of trying to kind of gloss over
Yeah.
the downs. You have to highlight those too, because it's all part of the story, all part of the journey. I think the one thing that I've taken away from Dr. Mondo is I think he's Dr. Mondo on Instagram, my mental coach. I think one thing we've really been kind of focusing on is my kind of like what I need, my recipe for getting myself into that flow state.
Mm.
Everyone knows that feeling where, whether you're on the bike or you're on a run or you're in the pool, and everything is just effortless. You're doing something really hard, but it doesn't even feel hard. You're just like, whoa, my body feels like in sync, and I'm strong, and I'm doing it, and it's like, this is fun. And it takes a lot of work to get to that like place, but it's such a great feeling. And part of getting there too is the mental preparation for getting there. And so it's like, what do I need to do mentally to prepare for that? And so I have like almost like a checklist of things I need to do before a race or before a hard workout, so I can get myself in the zone, so I can achieve that flow state a little more quickly and a little more easily.
Oh, that state. It is so,
So good.
it's so good. I mean, I feel that anytime I'm teaching on the bike. I mean, it's or on the tread or anywhere I'm teaching, it's just like that full immersion. Time doesn't matter. Like you are just locked in.
What do you
Beautiful.
do to get yourself there? Do you have any, like, do you know of anything that for you that will
Yeah.
turn that on?
So pre-show, I definitely have a ritual where I kind of I run through, I actually visualize my playlist on my class notes without looking at them. Like I just try to like look, because when I create a roadmap for a class, I look at it almost like a story. So I think like, okay, this is where we're warming up, and then we're taking it to here, almost like you'd look at like an elevation map or something. Like I kind of look at the heat map of the class like visually, and I listen to the music. I usually the playlist that I plan for the class pump me up, and then I kind of have like a silent moment, usually in the bathroom in the locker room, where it's just like looking myself in the mirror, final like glam check, but it's also like that breathe. It's like you're in it. Let's go. And I think most folks would be surprised that when the instructors are preparing, it's every class is like your only class you've ever done. And I think that same thing, like every training run, you're like, this is my work today. Like this is work. And some days we're tired, some days it doesn't matter. Like this is when we show up to do the thing. So I think for me, that's my process. Actually, nobody's ever asked that.
I love that though, because you can't show up to your job, whether you're leading a class or you're running a race on the track or you're giving a presentation to a bunch of CEOs or something. You can't show up to that without like being in the right headspace, because if you're thinking about like kids or your to-do list or like how the last presentation that you did went and whether it was good or bad, or like if you're not just like in the flow of what you're doing, then I mean it might be okay, but it's not going to be your absolute best. You're not going to achieve that just perfect, like exactly what you wanted. And I don't know, at least for me, I always want to know what the absolute best scenario is. Like I'm not here to find out like how I can get by. Like I want to like optimize everything. How can I make it better, the best, my absolute like maximal potential? And so I think you can't achieve that without identifying or figuring out how to get your mind in the right place.
You have to prime to optimize, right?
Exactly.
So you also have a background in nutrition, and I believe you studied it in school. What is your food philosophy?
Oh gosh, that's such a big question. I studied dietetics at Florida State as my major, and I actually thought that I was gonna graduate and become a dietitian. I had no like goals going into school of becoming an Olympian. I didn't even think about that. I was like, I'm here to get a free education and maybe I'll be an All-American. Ended up being All-American 9 times and a national champion. And then I was like, well, maybe that dietetics thing can wait a little bit.
I think I have other things I could offer to the world right now.
But it is still a huge passion of mine, and food and nutrition has always been a big part of my life. Just even when I was growing up, my parents had a garden in the backyard. We even had chickens. My parents still live in the city of St. Louis. It's not like we live on the farm, but we had this big vegetable garden that my mom, green thumb, had. We had chickens for fresh eggs, and they they would till the soil and nurture the soil so that we would move it around so that they would fertilize for the new vegetables. Like we had our own little mini farm at the Quigley house. But that's my food background. Like then we would prepare food. Like we would make homemade food. Not a lot of like frozen stuff, not a lot of take and bake kind of situation. And so I've always cooked like that. And I just find it so rewarding to take the time to create your own food and then, share it with people or, have it with a nice glass of wine and sit down and like actually have a meal. I think it's so much more nourishing for your body and so much more enjoyable than just like, here's this quick thing and shove it down and go to the next thing. And I mean, I'm guilty of doing that sometimes for sure. I'm not perfect. Like sometimes I'm in a hurry and I just grab and go and I'm eating in the car. Like I do that sometimes. But I more than not, I love to just create really good food and enjoy it with people who I love and get that kind of like nourishment out of what I eat.
Intentionality. What's your favorite post-training meal?
Ooh, gosh. I've been doing a lot of smoothies lately because it's hot here and I'm in an old apartment building in Portland. We don't have air conditioning. So every time I get down for a run or a spin or anything, I'm like, give me a smoothie. Like, all I want is like frozen things. But I do have a fun recipe I love to share. It's on my Instagram and on my website that my parents used to make when we were growing up. That's a very kind of like feel good, like creamy, delicious, satisfying pasta, but it's made, instead of with heavy cream, it's made with yogurt, plain yogurt and Parmesan cheese. And so it's like this Alfredo, like creamy sauce, but it's made just like with yogurt. So you get some extra protein and healthy fats, and you don't have to worry as much about the guilt factor, but you still get like that just hearty, feel good pasta recipe out of it.
What's your website so people can find the recipe?
Plug, it's ColleenQuigley.org.
Oh, honey, she is an organization. I just started voguing on that mic drop. I'm obsessed. Yo. Okay, that just like made me so happy.
I have a alter ego on Instagram. I call myself Chef Colleen. And so I have some videos of me cooking in my kitchen, and I did that one for one of my Chef Colleen videos because it's definitely a fan favorite. It's super easy. It takes like 15 minutes, and it's very like hearty and satisfying. So a lot of people try that one. So you can find it on my Instagram too.
So you recently did, I believe, a race to raise money for the Equal Justice Initiative, and I've seen you on the track racing, with Breonna Taylor's name on your shirt. Speak on that a little bit, because I think it's so incredibly important, especially for a non-Black athlete, to be standing in allyship for such an important Black Lives Matter movement.
Yeah.
Hi, Doc.
Pie is all about it. Pie's like,
he's all about it.
Justice. She's very excited. So someone's dropping off a package.
Okay.
Yes, we had a mini season this summer where we had a few races. Just my team. We didn't even compete against anyone outside of our squad, inter-squad racing, to be super safe with COVID. But we decided for the last two that we did this summer, we wanted to do something where we could show the world, like, hey, we're part of this too. This is not like the WNBA or, a lot of the MLB players and stuff have been doing these huge, amazing, super meaningful, really powerful, very public kind of displays of we stand with Black people, Black Lives Matter, and we're not just playing this sport kind of blindly. We're a part of this conversation. And so my team and I decided we want to do that too. We want to show people that we are a part of this movement. And so we decided to choose the Equal Justice Initiative as the organization that we raise money for. They're founded by a guy named Brian Stevenson. And if you guys have heard of the movie, and it's now a movie and it was a book, or is a book too, called Just Mercy. It's about how he started EJI in the South and how he's doing amazing work as a lawyer to fight for people who have been wrongfully committed, who are on death row, who don't have fair representation or representation at all, and just really amazing work for those who are marginalized and need a voice, need someone to stand up for them. And, as athletes, I feel like sometimes I feel very helpless in some of these situations where, I'm working to go with the Olympic Games. I have this like singular focus and I'm going towards this big goal. But at the same time, I'm a human being and I'm a member of the earth as a society. And so I'm not blind to things that are going on in our world that are injustices. And I want to also use my voice and my platform as much as I can to shed light on that and, tell people, hey, like, yeah, I'm running this race and I'm running really fast and this is awesome. But also look over here, like while I'm running, this is entertaining. And then when I'm done running, you should go watch this movie and learn about EJI and give
Love it.
Because they're doing really great things. So as much as we can do that, we want to, and we ended up raising, I think the grand total was just over $23,000 over about 10 days. We did like a fundraising push. So it was really
That's
fun.
beautiful.
Yeah. And I think some more fun things to come. It's obviously just the beginning. A lot of people have been saying it's a marathon, not a sprint, which I love because it's a running reference. But it's so true that like this is only the start of what we need to be doing, and yeah, we're gonna keep it going into the fall and into the future.
For sure. So you also have been using your voice. You have a fun hair. You always have you have braids that
I know,
you usually have you race with braids, and you started hashtag Fast Braid Friday. Can you speak to, and I know a lot of young athletes and especially young women follow you. What would you say to those who are watching right now? Like just one piece of Colleen branded advice that you wish you knew.
Sure. Yeah. I usually always race and usually work out in braids, which I love. A lot of the Peloton instructors, Allie and yourself, always have awesome, badass braids in. But the hashtag that I work with or that I use is Fast Braid Friday. And it's all about braiding your hair in whatever type of braid style that makes you feel fast. It makes you feel confident and powerful, like makes you feel like a queen. Like, I got this. You stand on the starting line, like shoulders back, head up, like I'm gonna freaking boss up right now. And sometimes it can be a simple part of that mental preparation, part of your formula. Part of that can just be as simple as I braid up my hair in a way that makes me feel confident. And that's part of my formula for success. And it seems simple. It's just hair. Who cares? It doesn't actually make you fast. But if it can make you feel like confident, then it does make you perform better. And so I think that has been really fun, just because I've seen a lot of young girls and women and some guys post on Instagram, like, look at my fast braids. I ran, a PR in the 5K, personal best in the 5K in my fast braids, or I ran my first marathon in my fast braids and it was so amazing. It was a great experience or whatever. And so it's just been awesome to see how people take that and just run with it. Like, they totally have made it into a bigger thing, bigger movement than I ever had intended it to be. I just thought it was going to be fun. And it turned out to be this really powerful, meaningful, uplifting movement, which has really been cool to see.
So what would you say, what do you wish you knew when you were an athlete coming up?
Oh, yeah. I think a lot of the things that we did in high school, looking back, I didn't know that we were doing it right, but my dad just had it all right. He really focused on like keeping it light, keeping it fun. I was like 15 years old, and so he made sure that when I got stressed out about running, that you bring it back and like, okay, let's remember why we're here, remember why we're doing this. And I work with and talk to a lot of high schoolers now, a lot through like Nike and just through my Instagram and stuff, and they're stressed out about running, and they how do I get to the Olympics at like age 14? They're wondering, how do I, and what do you do for mileage, and what do you eat, and what do you recover like? And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're overthinking it. Like, I'm an Olympian, I run 80 miles a week. You're 17. You shouldn't be doing what I'm doing, So the biggest advice that I tell high school kids now is actually do less. Like, back it off, have more fun, make it more relaxed. You have so much time. And if you want to have a long career, you have to do like the steady build. You're never going to be able to get to where you want to be, like in the first couple years of your running career. It's going to take longer than that. And so just like do less and enjoy it more.
I love it. I think everyone watching could probably take that advice. Do less, enjoy it more. Do you have any questions for me? You have an opportunity to put the host in the hot seat.
Yeah, my biggest question for you was about mental health and like how you deal with that. So I kind of already asked you that, but what is maybe your best advice for people who are kind of in a spot where they're like, I don't know, like how to get better. I'm kind of stuck. I'm in a rut. Like, maybe I should think about, like mental health, or like, I don't know where to start or what to do. Like, how do I go about even exploring that? Like, what would you tell someone in that scenario to do?
Well, I think we're in our heads all day. So this is going to maybe sound strange, but I think that we need to go deeper. For me, the runs allowed me, especially as a marathoner and ultra marathoner, the runs allowed me to like go further inward. And I didn't have like 5-hour song playlist, and I didn't have no bells and whistles. It was just like, I'm going to go out there on the road and have this conversation.
So much when you're out there like that.
Sorry?
there's just so much time when you're out
Oh
there.
my
Like,
God, it's so much time, but there's so much benefit to kind of facing that conversation. And I think the biggest tool for me recently, especially during COVID this year, has been journaling. It has been taking 5 to 10 minutes just to either have like the mental,
yeah.
there's something, and tactile. Like I have a million open tabs
Oh,
of notes in my phone, but there's something very tactile. Oh, I love that Rousey book, by the way.
Oh yeah.
She's so rad. Yes, exactly. So whether it's after a training session, downloading, by the way, you're so cute with the colors. I don't have the color. I have to up my pen game. But yeah, the journaling piece, the tactile, like
Journals, yes.
let it go. And then sometimes it'll be more targeted. Like if I have stuff related to business that I'm thinking about, I'll let that be a brainstorm. Or sometimes it'll more be like, what do I want Robin in 2025 to be doing, thinking, feeling, and saying, you know? And I think that the mental health piece, of course, there are like serious conversations that you should engage professional help and things like that. But our daily little moments where we can nurture in the same way that I would tell someone, learn how to do a push-up, learn how to run a mile, learn how to have those small little moments where you're nourishing that conversation, because it's only when you're aware here that you can know, oh wow, something's off. Yeah. Right. So, and of course, those are the more alarming scenarios that we want to avoid. So it's kind of tuning in. And I think movement and writing have been two big access points for me.
Yes, I love the journaling thing. I tell people that all the time. And I think the pen to paper part is really important. Like it's not the same when you're typing.
It's not the same.
No, it has to be pen on the paper and just thought drop.
Exactly. No judgment. Do less, enjoy more. Listen, Colleen, we are going to be cheer. I need a new word for cheer, because when you go to Tokyo, I am going to be like a rabid, obsessed, like social media, like a cheer mom, cheering for you. So thank you for being on Hustlers at Home. Where can folks find you? We know ColleenQuigley.org. Where else can folks find you?
I am at SteeplesQuigs on Instagram and Twitter. I don't tweet that much, but I Instagram a fairly good amount. So you can follow me there too.
Thank you so much for your time today. I will see you on the bike, and I'm sure Allie will see you on the bike soon too.
I'll see you on the bike. You, Allie, and Tunde, you guys are my gals.
I love it. That's a squad. You want to talk about a squad? That's a powerful squad. All right, Queen.
Thanks,
Thank you. Be well. See you.